This is local culinary writer and food historian Christina Ward. She knows everything about the Milwaukee food scene.
We grow up thinking like all this German type food is American food. That's always been our pathway to becoming an American, is through our stomachs, through our food.
Isn't that right, huh? Christina Ward took Padma Lakshmi on a food tour of Milwaukee in the Wienermobile on the second episode of the Hulu series Taste the Nation. Christina says she's had a lifelong love and fascination with why we eat the food that we do.
Her most recent book is American Advertising Cookbooks, How Corporations Taught Us to Love Spam, Bananas, and Jell-O. And we are thrilled to welcome Christina to the Morning Blend. Good morning to you, Christina.
Good morning. And on your earlier segment, you would have to eat a lot of brats. I'm talking maybe like 6 a day for those nitrates to start really building up to cause damage.
See? Good to know. You know, this is interesting because I got to watch just a little bit of the episode with Padma that you did on Taste the Nation. And I thought it was so interesting, her take on it, because she said growing up in New York, she didn't really eat a lot of the hot dogs because she grew up vegetarian. And so she'd get all the toppings in the bun. I'm wondering how she found you. How did they pick you to be on Taste the Nation and talk about this topic?
Well, I do a lot of freelance writing as well as obviously writing books. And so the producers had read about my work in the New York Times and in the Wall Street Journal. And so the producers reached out to me. And initially, I wasn't going to be on air. It was about helping them shape the narrative and do the research. But we had such a good time, and I guess I'm a chatterbox. And so then they invited me to participate in the show. And it was fun, is though the segment is small, it's kind of short after the edit. Padma and I rode around downtown Milwaukee for about 4 hours in the Wienermobile.
Wow. That's a long time, and I want you to take us through some of that, because we talked a little bit about the Wienermobile. That's the all-American wiener that she came to talk about in Milwaukee to kind of get into our German heritage, as we touched on in that clip that we just saw. But I know that you also looked at how sausage gets made. She looks at that. So there's a shout out to Usingers. There's German Fest gets a shout out. But really the whole episode, they say, is sort of like a love letter to Milwaukee's food, culture, and history.
Well, it is, because we were talking about is Milwaukee as an old city, as traditionally a very European city. Honestly, it's only up until the World War II era that we become really Americanized. All of us become Americanized because we can. So many of us can think back to whether it's our parents or our grandparents came from a different place and came to Milwaukee and made a life here and brought all those food traditions with them. And so that became the thing that we really, really talked about, and how that our conversations developed. And so it was a kind of an exciting view to look at Milwaukee from that immigrant history and realize that, you know, Taco Tuesday, which we all love, comes from a place and comes because we've kept those traditions alive.
It's pretty cool. What do you think makes our cuisine, I guess, in Milwaukee different? Is it that German heritage, or what is it that makes us so special?
I think what makes us so special in Milwaukee is we have, I think, a reverence for our own upbringing and culture, but we also, because of that, we appreciate other folks' culture. And so that's why when you see the German Fest on the lakefront and when you see Irish Fest, it's not just German people going. Everybody goes to everybody else's ethnic festival because primarily we do love to eat food, and we love eating other folks' food too. So I think that's what really makes Milwaukee cuisine different. We're happy to celebrate where we came from, but we also appreciate and take on everybody else's. If it tastes good, that's part of Milwaukee's identity.
I love that. I love that idea of celebrating other ethnicities too. You know, you talked about riding around for 4 hours, which is a long time, but as you know, in the editing process, so much is lost. But it makes me wonder if there was another place that you wanted to take her that you just couldn't get to, or were there some things that you wish that she had been able to see during her visit that you just didn't have time for?
Our conversation was, you filmed, you know, in the Wienermobile, and we were kind of downtown primarily. If I could take her to different places, I would have loved to take her further, say, to the south side of Milwaukee and to see how that architecture and then the family restaurants that grow up. And I think the South Side is a great place to see our immigrant history, because it's been the place where, German and then Polish and then Serbian and then now folks from not just Mexico, but different regions of Mexico. And I think folks sometimes don't realize that we don't have Mexican food. We've got a fantastic regional Mexican food because of how our immigrants have kind of kept it alive, and how we from other places appreciate it and go to these places to eat. So that's one place I'd want to take her, because that is the immigrant experience alive today.
What did she love about Milwaukee? And did she have a favorite spot to eat?
Yeah, they actually texted me that night. They had one bad meal, and I'm not telling you where. And so, Padma's like, tell us where we need to go to eat. So I sent her to the fantastic La Merenda with Peter Sandroni, and they were just thrilled. And they had just a fabulous meal there, and they were really, really happy about that.
That was so neat. What did you think overall of this show, and what do you think of Taste the Nation?
I think it's a great idea. When Padma and the producers reached out to me, it was still in that process, and she was still putting together those narrative ideas about the story she wanted to tell, and how it came together really, really huge to her vision. And I have to stress to you, it was so much fun to hang out with her, because she is just as nice and brilliant and beautiful as she is on television.
Aww, that's so cool.
Really
I wanted to say, who was driving the Wienermobile?
Excuse me?
Who was the driver of the Wienermobile? Because she seemed like a really knowledgeable as well.
Yeah, now the Oscar Mayer, their marketing department hires college interns, and it's a paid internship. They get training on the history of the Wienermobile and the company's products. And part of their job is to drive around in the Wienermobile. So she was one of every year, a college intern who drives the Wienermobile. It's a very prestigious position, believe it or not.
Yeah, we've had the Wienermobile at our studio in our parking lot before.
And that's one thing about Milwaukee, is there was a little confusion at first, and because when people see the Wienermobile going by, you can't really see who's in the Wienermobile, but people are waving and hooting and hollering. And Padma was like, "Do they know we're filming?" And I'm like, "No, it's the Wienermobile. People love the Wienermobile."
That's great.
It's its own celebrity. It's a celebrity dog. Thanks so much for joining us, Christina.
You guys have a great day, and watch Taste the Nation. It's fun.
You too. Thanks,
Absolutely.
Christina.
All right. Well, you can catch Taste the Nation on Hulu, and to learn more about Christina and the American Advertising Cookbooks, just visit her website. It's ChristinaWard.net. Great stuff there.
Really good stuff.